G'day guys, how are you? Hope you're all having a fantastic whatever time it is in your part of the world. Here in Australia it's the evening, so I'm going to be spending this evening doing a review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This is a art house comedy from Sweden, Swedish language English subs, released in the year 2010, directed by Ola Simonsson and Johan Starner Nilsson, and this film is called Sound of Noise. The story to Sound of Noise, it's about this young child who was tone deaf. So straight away he couldn't play instruments, and his family were very music orientated, and that's how they've become very famous. So as time has gone by, the main character is now an adult, and he's a policeman, and he's the only guy in the family still that is not music connected. So his family applaud all of the accolades that the music members are getting, but they just cast him aside a little bit as a black sheep. So for that reason, this cop has a resentment towards music, and he doesn't want anything to do with it, and he just prefers silence. So his frustration with music is intensified when he's given the case of following this group of criminals who are music based. Now they're very unique. They rob banks, they invade operating theatres at hospitals, and they invade an orchestral performance at this concert hall because they're going to try and educate the public about what they think music is. Now all of these criminals have music backgrounds, but they're all disillusioned with what music's become. So for reasons, they're just very, very angry, and they just band together, and their common interest and love of music is making them do these things. So when they get to the bank, they don't rob it, but the terrified people inside this bank are witnessing a performance. Now, they're making musical instruments out of things that you don't associate with music, and this is the way that they're going to get their message across. And this is all building up to a masterpiece that is going to basically blow everyone away. So whether or not they can achieve this masterpiece before this tone-deaf cop actually finds them, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself. But along the way, the tone-deaf cop may have a newfound appreciation for music. So that's all I'm going to give on the synopsis. If you want to know more, please go out there and see this film for yourself. Now, my thoughts on Sound of Noise. This one is a really inventive film, but unfortunately this is a case of having an idea that is not big enough to make a feature film. Now, it's 98 minutes in length, but unfortunately it should have been a 30-minute film because the ideas are really cool to start with, and they really do hit you with a unique flavour, but the problem of it is, once you've seen one, then the rest of them are kind of just recycling each other. So you don't really have a newfound interest. It's not keeping you wanting to know more. You see one and you probably, you could call it quits after that. So that's my biggest problem, is the fact that it's a 30-minute film being made into a 98-minute film. Therefore, it's very frustrating, very irritating, and quite repetitive. So it's a very tedious experience that I found, and unfortunately that did prevent myself from enjoying it. Now, underneath the creative value, there really isn't much going for this film at all. I thought the comedy was really lost on me. It didn't translate through screen very well. I'm usually in tune with Scandinavian humour, but this one just didn't strike me as a funny film. There was about one scene that was mildly entertaining as far as comedy is concerned, but the rest of the comedy just really lost me, and I think that was down to the fact that the characters were very, very irritating. These characters were exaggerated. Yes, it is a comedy, and it's an art house kind of film, but the characters were so irritating. The main character I didn't care about because he felt like a guy who was feeling sorry for himself. He was miserable, and he was just waiting for every opportunity to take his misery out on the world because of his resentment towards music. So you immediately detach yourself from this main character, and I just hated him because he had no likable quality. And when there's a side plot of a romance between him and one of the criminals, that didn't work because it didn't feel natural. And because you hate this guy to start with, you don't really care if he finds love or if he's going to be changed as a person, because it doesn't feel natural, and you feel as though you're watching a film instead of watching something that is naturally happening. There is no chemistry between those two, and I thought the build-up was non-existent. So it just feels like the director has quickly put this love interest in there to give the film a little bit more depth, but because there was no build-up, no lead-up whatsoever, you feel that it's not natural, and if it's not natural, then it just comes across as a forced attempt to give the film a little bit more than it has. So apart from the fact that I didn't enjoy it as far as that's concerned, there are likable qualities to it. I like the fact that it shows you the impact of music, how powerful music can be, and how music is around us even when we don't realise that. Basically anything, even if you don't associate an object with music, it can be made into a musical instrument. So it does show you the power of music. It shows you how it can change people and how effective it can be. So the inventive ways that they were doing music, I thought that was really well synchronized, and it was entertaining. But the problem with it, as I said, is that it does get very repetitive. And by the 30-minute mark, you're feeling to yourself, I have to go. I have no interest in how this unfolds, and you're just counting down the time. And for a 98-minute film, that is a long space of waiting, and that's why I felt that it was extremely tedious. So characters weren't likable whatsoever. The script was fairly weak. I thought the acting was good. I mean, they did play their characters fairly decently, although it's not really a hard job to do in this kind of film. But I will say that the creative flair was there. So it is unique. It is very art house. So if you're a fan of that, I would say at least give this one a go. One viewing at the very most, I would suggest. I thought it was very audio based, so it's not so much about what you hear, it's about what it's not so much about what you see, it's about what you hear. I thought that worked fairly well. I mean, on a production value, the cinematography was good. It doesn't feel like it's an ultra low budget film. But as I said, it feels like it's just got a little idea and it's tried to drag itself out, and you really notice that, and you become very frustrated very early, and it takes the enjoyment out of it completely. The grand masterpiece at the end from these criminals, I just lost interest. I didn't care, and when it happens, it's really not that great. So the movie, I'm not going to say disappointed me because I didn't really have any expectations at all to it, but I was hoping that maybe this would surprise me, being an unknown sort of film, but it really didn't, because it felt like, yes, it is creative, but underneath the creative idea, it really lacks the motivation and the depth to really maintain your interest throughout the entire length. So very unfortunate experience. It's not coming recommended, but who knows, if you're a art house fanatic, you might get something out of this. But for me, I was just left wanting a hell of a lot more. So overall, for the Swedish art house comedy Sound and Noise, I'm going to give this one 2 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.